YouTube comments from a video titled, Your Monthly Dose of Good News April.
At good__news wrote,
Get 20% off Delete Me by going to joindeleteteam.com and use code GOODNEWS to protect your privacy. Sponsored. Which story was your favorite this time? I was honestly shocked to learn that earlier generations were exposed to over 100 times more lead. And I am very happy to hear that the polar bears are doing better.
at Agronox wrote,
I have been paying too much attention to all the collapse of civilization news, so I really needed this. I am very glad this showed up in my feed. I cannot say which one of these stories made me happiest, and there isn't a single one of them that I felt indifferent about. But I will say seeing the Swifts living in humans' homes on purpose by both parties made me smile and tear up. So yeah, I guess that won.
at frequently cynical 642 wrote,
One of the reasons lead was removed from gasoline is a study done long ago. They correlated high crime to proximity to major, heavily traveled urban highways. When lead hurts the developing brain, the kids don't do well in school and turn to crime.
at G.I. Jew Jim wrote,
Environmentalists, as well as the weather people, you guys are misunderstanding the hurricanes and cyclonic actions. What they are is they're cleaners, they are vacuum cleaners of the earth. Earth cannot be cleaned at the scale that it needs to be by the humans. You guys are size of ants. You just need to learn to get out of the way. When you spread yourself out, and when you cannot be saved. Let's think some logic here. It is because you human beings are living under the assumption that you are just natural products living on natural land and natural processes. When you get this mind-gutter mindset out of the way, I just want to remind you that other than the technocracy eugenics crowd academics, historically we have always believed in the spirits. Even in the religious Bibles it says, do not commit the sin of blasphemy. Blast. It means light. Light in the sky shows up as clouds when it's in vibration with moisture. The light when it's in cold climate. Flags of snowflakes, which is fractal high geometry. Maybe you guys should think about these things before thinking about saving the world as environmentalists. Do you think that not cleaning up the sludge in your coast is a good thing? Saving the what are you saving? Look at the Gulf Coast. Why don't you clean that up? Environmentalists. When I go to San Francisco Bay, I smell of the stink stench because you don't tell people to clean up, you stupid effing environmentalists. With all the money that you guys burned, I used to be able to catch crabs in San Francisco Bay and eat it in 1985. What kind of work have you guys done? Talking about doing good, but all you guys ever think about is how you're going to make profit and therefore doing something another. You guys are frauds. Lower-end frauds don't even know that they're fraud, that's the problem. The architects that thought of this environmental thing, Al Gore, who then sold TV station to Al Jazeera, is thereby bringing Muslims into the United States. 911, this is when Bush used this opportunity to borrow money from the Social Security. You need to take all the money from that family. Also from Dick Cheney, from Halliburton, every single pathetic defense contractors. Military obviously is in bed with them, and the advisors to the military who are authorizing these are academics. They also sit on the bench, don't they? Supreme Court justices who do not know the difference between economy, finance, and money. Same justices who do not understand the difference between lifetime settlement in an ERISA case versus yearly earning, and thereby causing extra unnecessary taxation to the people who need the money desperately because of the disability. Stupidity wrapped in stupidity sitting on Supreme Court bench. X.com substandard educated people cannot even recognize the sign of the divine because they don't study theology. Just so you know, this is 3D sky rendition of obelisk top pyramid top with ear-shaped handle showing golden ratio. You are in the presence of the divine on earth and have always been. Your pathetic lives have always been recorded everything but you thought what you did and what you actually said. At the time of your death, the judgment will happen. It will be remembered that YOU academics cost ME amnesia AS well AS 40 years OF rape starting AT 13 years old. AS well AS unimaginable numbers OF attempted murders. And their only finding OUT that they DID that TOTHE divine.
As Shinobi 0 BOI wrote.
It's important that while you keep up with events happening in the world, you take it both the good and the bad. Bad without good is misery, and good without bad is foolish.
Candlerich wrote.
1744, that is such an important detail to me. China produces a majority of lithium batteries, and yet they are the ones developing a new battery that will reduce that revenue. I can't see that happening in my country.
At Katrina Tam 2714 wrote.
Hi Freddy. Thanks for another awesome video. They are always so uplifting and inspiring. It's hard to pick a favorite from this month though, as they are all really good. I think maybe the shared wind turbines between countries wins it for me, but it was close.
At Uthale_Kiliania wrote.
There's a few select channels I don't skip the sponsor segment. This is one of them. If I ever feel the need to use the sponsor services/products, I'll try to remember to use this channel's code. Thank you for making enjoyable, quality content.
At Metmeisterulf wrote.
547 I find that good. A system like this should be implemented in every country. It doesn't always work, but it is a huge help. 1820, are they less likely to go up in flames?
The TRZBNE wrote.
Lead can cause serious behavioral issues, and the juvenile crime rates dropped in all areas where leaded gasoline was banned. I am amazed by the kind initiatives of the governments to protect wildlife. Please use comparable measurements. You say 2 million tons of plastic enters the oceans, but when you count the removal, you count in kg. That is 46,000 tons. That is why the prevention part of the ocean cleanup project is so important. They are our heroes. If they can collect 25,000 tons yearly, that is 1 po in T 25% of the pollution. So we have to support them. I keep my fingers crossed and support them financially to extend their activities. The model is genial.
At Thevenetian Mask 1427 wrote.
My worry with the rainforest in Guatemala, as with any country resisting oil and resource extraction, need to be strong, both in governance and defense to keep external forces at bay. As resource scarcity advances, the pressure on these territories grow both politically and in practice on its land.
At Masteruve wrote.
LA cleared 2 po in $9 billion in medical debt for alien rapists, and now your cost of living is so high. Dink white-collar households are sitting below the poverty line. There was due debt cleared. Only debt redistributed.
At Leslie Nicola 6836 wrote.
I joined Good News for several years. I never received verification of membership or any membership news. I would like to join again because I really like Good News, but I want some sort of verification and membership perks.
At Alessa Skellington wrote.
Videos like this is the entire reason, I think, that some people can keep going. Knowing that those projects exist makes me want to join them and contribute. I watch the news every morning, every day, and I think the huge focus there is on the general chaos can make us biased. I both view those videos as hope fuel, but also a way to stay balanced and more objective in my views. Thank you so much. What you do is so important.
A gentleman otter wrote.
Nothing is better for me than coming home to the good progress going on with our climate, animals, and world. Thanks for showing the future is bright.
Ludiotic wrote.
I remain in awe of the work that the ocean cleanup are doing. It's also crazy to think that the founder Boyan Slat was just a teenager when he founded the organization. Incredible pioneering.
At the Dark Knight 1212 wrote.
525 I am a bit ashamed that you did not mention Norway here, as we are the inventors of the system. It started over here, and then has been slowly but surely spread to other countries.
Theocianclianup wrote.
Thanks for featuring our milestone of 50 million kilograms of trash removed from oceans and rivers worldwide. Check out our channel or our website to learn more about our mission to rid the world's oceans of plastic. Visit theocianclianup.com.
Biggest Rich wrote.
The medical debt is so good for the us. I feel so lucky to live in the UK where we have free healthcare. Seems so backwards to have to go into debt to live. Dead people can't pay taxes. Watch the MAGA cult spin that to be a bad thing. Absolutely insane that anyone would think it's a bad thing to reduce the financial burden on people.
@legusin wrote.
Hi Freddie, may I make a suggestion? I think you could improve the structure of your videos by integrating some chapters. They could be in some kind of timeline in the left of the video signaling how many chapters are there yet to come. Like you're having, for example, 1 to 5, highlighting the one you're discussing at every moment. Best regards.
Cute Kitten 4395 wrote.
I love the bird bricks. There's a type of swallow where I'm from that uses mud to build nest spaces, and we always had them come build them on overhung areas of porches. Sodium batteries are also very exciting.
Lesavis 4878 wrote.
The ocean cleanup story amazes me. The fact that it was started by one teenager who was told it couldn't work just goes to show what can be done by one person with strong motivation. As for the rest of us, surely we can do our bit by being just a little more responsible in our daily choices. Thank you for providing encouraging news. It helps keep others motivated to work on their own positive projects.
Prasoon H8P wrote.
India delivered 13 tons of Bacille Calmette-Guerin BCG, vaccines and related medical supplies to Afghanistan on April 14, 2026, to support child immunization against tuberculosis. Delivered to the Ministry of Public Health in Kabul, this aid is part of India's ongoing humanitarian assistance, highlighting continued medical support.
CBW 98 wrote.
As good that it seems you don't talked about how things are financed and who is paying. It is essay to be happy for something good, but it is essay to use other people money. But still you do a good job and is happy for the Chanel.
Norwegian Crazy Guy wrote.
We actually started returning beer bottles in 1902. I knew we have had this arrangement my whole life, but had no idea we started this before there was world wars.
Tech Life wrote.
That avatar car is really nice. Isho, I have a feeling it's not real though, and will never be. Like that gorgeous Mazda sedan, and the Oldsmobile one too.
Scorpio 4190 wrote.
Loved all of them. Thank you so much for making these videos.
I am personally very interested to see those sodium-ion batteries scale up. I have a short but consistent commute. A cheaper and more environmentally sustainable EV battery would be incredible, even if it has poor range capabilities.
At Urzeros 2082 wrote,
It can be so easy to fall into the doomer mindset that everything sucks and the world is evil. But these videos really help me to take a breath and remind myself that living is okay, actually. So thank you, 3.
At Nighthawk 899 wrote,
I find it as an American ironic that Scotland is having a problem losing starlings and sparrows because we have the exact opposite problem here. Thanks to the Europeans that brought sparrows and sterlings here, which are invasive to the United States, they have no natural predators, they have become a nuisance species, and have destroyed habitats for other native bird species such as the purple martins. We tried for years to get a purple martin nest in the yard, but every year these little sparrows and starlings would come and take over. Finally ended up giving up.
At Alice Simons 2308 wrote,
Makes me wonder about the specific employees that make these more ethical decisions at corporations like the two car companies. They exercise their freedom to pursue a better world. So many companies don't.
At Paul Jackson 171 wrote,
754 basically was seen as the miracle product of the time until society wisened up to where it net have downsides and backpedal adoption. Same case with asbestos smoking pipes even being a thing, also mercury, and today's version of that is plastic. Yeah, this stuff is cyclical.
At Extra Medium Haas M5I wrote,
I love any kind of cleanup efforts or clean energy. This planet is such a beautiful place, so anything that keeps it that way make me happy.
At or 56 wrote,
Mark, this is good news. We can finally be bees. This isn't your world, but we can be bees. You'll live like a bee. A pet, a pet, a pet, a pet. This is good news. You'll live for 30 years. This is insane.
At Mr. Maddox wrote,
Happy to see the growth of renewable energy for Europe. Goes hand in hand with less dependency on fossil fuels, which harm the planet and, by extension, everyone on it.
At GFX Chark wrote,
Energy density is just one factor that makes a good battery. The sodium batteries are much safer since they don't combust, have better performance at cold temperatures C to -30 C22F to -40 F, and the fastest charging one is full in 11 minutes. The only question is how well they perform in the long term. Currently, I would prefer a sodium one, since their environmental impact could be a positive sign that could use the brine from desalination plants instead of polluting the ocean with it. Also, extracting lithium is really bad, like every resource mining operation.
At Virexia wrote,
Just one correction. Lithium-ion batteries have not tripled in price since 2021, as was stated in 1737. They're actually at a record low these days. I don't know where the $7,200 versus $24,500 number comes from, but I reckon there's been some kind of mix-up.
At Amordnalap 070 wrote,
Oh, finally America is getting on board with the whole, not getting people into debt for medical stuff. Oh, finally y'all are getting on board. Took you like long enough, losers.
At Clover High Five wrote,
I still have and use the water bottle that was a perk on the very first Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign for the ocean cleanup in 2013. And since then I have acquired about 4 other bottles that serve different purposes. In that way, I'm truly not using more plastic. I think my ocean cleanup bottle serves as a reminder.
At bumbling bureaucrat 6110 wrote,
As an American, it feels weird to hear that sparrows are an endangered species, since those European birds are actually crazy common here in the States as an invasive.
At Ananamu 2248 wrote,
I'm holding out for home-based electricity generation. Exercase machines link to hot water if you want a bath. You earn treadmill credits. There are active garden ornaments that are wind generators. Solar roofs and walls that plastic stick solar. If economical use of power and shared store options that work for communities, I am sure we will no longer be held ransom to electricity and water companies chasing profit at our expense.
At Adrasale 8878 wrote,
What if the wind farm money went to nuclear energy instead? Of course, the fear-mongering would have to stop, so it'll never happen. But everything better than fossil fuels.
At Freda Thorsteinson 5584 wrote,
Yeah, turns out Medicaid was a scam. All that debt didn't just disappear, and LA especially took advantage of hardworking Americans to fill their pockets. Low-income people didn't benefit. Illegal foreigners stole unchecked and sent the money out of country, and we lost literal hundreds of billions overall.
At BB 7930 wrote,
There have been news on a breakthrough with solid and semi-solid batteries in China. Data is limited, but they reportedly passed 50 safety tests and have more than double energy density compared to lithium-ion 400 for semi and 430 W*H/kg for solid versus 170 for current-gen lithium-ion.
At Blue_Ouija wrote,
The point about estates paying people back for recycling doesn't hold up to scrutiny when, as a Michigander, I can only get paid back at select stores and only for bottles and cans that are bought from that store, and only if they're in the same condition I bought them in. The state requires stores to provide an option. It doesn't require the option to be viable. Those recycling machines are only used by homeless people trying to earn enough for a meal that day. I personally just drop my recyclables off at a nearby plant where I can recycle more than just bottles and cans.
At Logxt wrote,
This is going to be an odd question, considering all of the good news that I could have commented about. But what font is it that you use in your videos for the text? The rounded look of it is just really nice, and I'd like to use it myself if possible.
At Ankit Kumar TT5HS wrote,
Fun fact, India is the only country that has accomplished its UN 2030 clean energy target, that too before 5 years of its scheduled timeline. It is producing 50% of electricity from non-fossil fuels.
At Alinx15 wrote,
I love these so much. There's so much outrage in the world, and it shouldn't be ignored. But hearing these wins really brings that sparkle back to my eyes that humanity isn't all bad. Thank you so much for these.
Catfish Yellow wrote,
I love Delete Me. Now they can't pry on me for crap American Horror Story ideas. That's an idea. Come on, Henry Doubleday Lawrence Hills Association. And create something that people aren't horned up about. Like infinite 48-hour compost that could replace the entire manure industry. Ran over? Thank you, Delete Me. My mental health is no longer under attack by bored billionaires.
At Anti-Theory wrote,
Another bit of good news regarding the sodium-ion battery. They do not heat up and explode like lithium-ion batteries do, making them a much safer alternative for electric vehicles which can combust if the battery cells are damaged in the event of a collision.
Daffledman wrote,
The lead story is super important. I genuinely believe part of the problem we're facing with boomers that are voting against their interests and dumb politics is due at least in part to lead.
At Booklady 116 wrote.
Thank you for sharing good news each month. With so much bad news being spewed out each day, your videos bring hope and good vibes. My favorite story was regarding the ocean cleanup. It's such good news.
Effet 1719 wrote.
Thanks for this video. I just want to say sorry for all bad. That my county do this our world one day Russia join the world and stop trying to destroy. I'm so sorry. Have a good day, guys.
At Steve Downing 3892 wrote.
Some serious wins in this video. The plastic cleaning initiative is wonderful. Great to see the 100-fold drop in lead contamination. As someone born in 1976, I shudder to think what effect that stuff had on me.
At Linksys wrote.
Speaking of the bottle return system, Romania also adopted such a system where we pay 0.5 extra RON, like 10 euro cents, per bottle, and the impact was very noticeable. The Danube Delta, which had a plastic problem, has now become very clean, along with the bigger cities.
At Recatralfin 0017 wrote.
All of these stories are beautiful. My favorite is Tide at the Polar Bear Health, North Sea wind turbines and the plastic clearing project success. Keep up the great work, Gudnidos.
At Keith Castillo 5434 wrote.
Sodium-ion batteries is a great piece of news. I had an electric car, but the battery being a lithium battery would cost a fortune to replace, so now I'm back on gas power.
At Beginning Gafunity wrote.
I think what's hard for me is that there's a lot of good news with nature and the environments, yet not really any good news or better changes happening in places like the USA. And I kind of find that ironic because there's new technologies being outputted almost every month. And yet people in America are literally relying on food stamps to barely even feed themselves. And people have to pay over thousands of dollars just for 1 month, and every month, a lot of times just for rent or mortgage. Not to mention insurance, electricity, gas, water. I feel like we need a really new and better system.
At Joshua Kaluper 3940 wrote.
Especially in the last days when the global news just kept on getting worse and worse. Hearing some good news really makes the difference. Thank you, guys.
At Dikmabut K4B wrote.
The Ocean Cleanup Project is one of those projects that actually really gives me some hope that when confronted with a damaging reality we can't ignore, that humanity will eventually wake up and work together to really change things. I remember when this project first kicked off, there was a lot of criticism that it could never scale up to make a difference, but it's inspiring to see that it is actually making a measurable difference.
At Zoxol 390 wrote.
Thank you for spreading positivity. Mine and I would guess many other people's flip is absolutely filled with negativity, so your videos are like a diamond in the rough.
At Patrick McGinty 3234 wrote.
After visiting the ocean plastics exhibit in the Museum of Science and Industry, seeing such a concerted effort to eliminate them from our oceans is a huge relief.
At Lava Momster 0 wrote.
We could just gather all that plastic and then send it off into space to become Venus's moon. Then eventually, the planet might start spinning again in a distant future.
At Banana Snatch wrote.
When talking about lead poisoning, you should also mention the study done by collecting baby teeth in the USA. The baby teeth from children born before the leaded gasoline was banned have an easily measurable difference than the children born after lead gas was banned. Hair is a way to test, but it grows out, so the baby teeth method was selected since most people don't keep them. The Romans used lead pipes and discovered that it was making everyone sick. So the person who decided to boost the octane of gasoline by adding lead was really, really stupid or greedy. Probably both.
At Richard 11Q wrote.
I'm 55 years old.
And as I get ready to retire next month and live a more sedate life at home on a fixed budget, about $45,000 every 2 weeks, Love learned to appreciate authenticity more than ever. I love how your content truly stands out to me. I appreciate you being honest. It really brightens my day.
At Hans Milling wrote,
In Denmark, we had the bottle deposit for over 30 years. The lead poisoning must explain the many dumb Americans voting for Trump. A good thing that the youth will grow up smarter.
At Rising Revolt wrote,
I think reality is what you make it. Of course, you can care about politics and the issues in the world, but if we all focused our energy on positive things instead of everything going wrong, I genuinely think the world and its people would be a lot happier. Whatever you constantly feed your energy to is what you will energetically be. And ALOTOF are being fear-mongered into believing the world is going to blow up at any moment.
At the Dude 7319 wrote,
The bottle collection thing is amazing. Then again, you have countries like Belgium that wants to do it with QR code scanning, like it is already perfected with collection points.
At Corey Trip 9939 wrote,
Wind power isn't good, and is a scam. They always explode and cost way too much money or build, because some industrialist owns that entire industry. Basically, they just need a redesign, but then they lose all the transpo money on the fans, $250K for one fan blade.
NMR Momento wrote,
I love that Scotland is providing nesting places for birds. I am in Morocco, and besides my room, sparrows made a nest and laid 3 eggs, and watching them just sit there is the cutest thing.
At Med1175 wrote,
Love your good news. THX, but US lead level going down 100% since 1970 sure is wrong. You say no more lead found? Although all over East US plumbing is still lead.
At James Dick 5847 wrote,
Any day a disease is eradicated is a good day for humanity. Also, humans have returned to the moon for the first time since Apollo 17 in 1972. And Viktor Orban was decisively defeated in Hungary's recent election. So much good news in April.
Patrick 12EA56 wrote,
I'm really happy for that wind farm projects in the North Sea. Powering 143 million homes by 2050 is crazy. As a European, I'm so happy to see that Europe is really backing down on renewable energy. And I want to say thank you for this, Econ, since it's amazing to hear these good news, especially during these times.
The Peanut Cruncher 1349 wrote,
Environmental pollution has been one of the most horrifying things to think about for me. It's good to see there's people helping clean up the mess. Thanks for helping to keep me sane.
At Mihai Georgiev wrote,
The polar bear and bird news really cheered me up, for I'm a big fan of good animal news, like the good news of the discovery of the Brachycephalus luli on this channel. But all the good news are amazing. Keep up the good work, Freddy. Spreading optimism, hope, and positivity for people worldwide.
At Christine Chapman 9764 wrote,
So many great stories. The update on the ocean cleanup is fantastic. Honestly, though, it's hard to choose. I can't wait to see your next update. Well done, Freddie.
And Marco S8F4Q wrote,
Great channel. Love your videos. I only get a bit triggered when you pronounce your P's like BS. It's planet, not planet. Are you from Bavaria?
At Emily_incredible wrote,
I recently discovered this channel, and it has given me a renewed sense of hope,
especially with the current state of politics RN. Such a lovely channel to watch each month.
At Tuber wrote,
We also got a similar plastic bottle return system here in Portugal last week, and I have to moderately disagree that it's good news. First of all, bottles that don't have the required markings are not accepted, and some machines are already out of service, but the 0.0 and T10 euros price increase at those specific supermarkets stay the same. Second, the burden of responsibility keeps being pushed towards consumers, when it's plastic manufacturers and multinational companies who keep pushing plastic packaging and lobbying for its usage worldwide, while pretty much facing no consequences and while making massive profits. Why? And on a last note, we have the technology to have perfectly safe and clean tap water. However, the problem is that modernizing very old pipe infrastructure, especially in rural areas, is not incentivized by governments, because those who have no access to clean tap water can just go buy some. We can't justify the infrastructural investment. Plastic bottle return systems are a band-aid solution to a problem we shouldn't even have in the first place.
At Dariel Relesbreaker 9493 wrote,
If 2 million tons of plastic enter the ocean every year, and the ocean cleanup removed 46,000 tons, 200,000 every year versus 46,000 removed in total so far, then how is the goal of removing 90% getting closer? Doesn't that mean that the plastic is accumulating faster than they can remove it? Or was there a mistake with the numbers in this video?
At ZX4VT2HH4P wrote,
What a time to be alive. I really love the Swift bricks. So cute. I'm following the sodium batteries closely. It looks like it's on par to because the cheapest, most widespread battery out there. Hopefully, I'll have the funds in a few years to electrify my home with panels and those batteries and make the world slightly cleaner too.
At Avec wrote,
It's nice to hear that electric vehicles are still growing in popularity. I just hope someday a breakthrough can be made to reduce the weight of the batteries, since that causes car tires to wear down, and they can produce as much waste problems as emissions.
At Louisa 1878 wrote,
It's channels like this that keep me sane. The hard part about staying informed about the world is the absolute helplessness that comes with it. I appreciate you.
A Secret Shopkeep wrote,
The back password state of the U.S. healthcare system is shameful. Any progress is good progress. But I teared up a little at the ocean cleanup. That is real and lasting effects.
At Hyperion Sama wrote,
What happens when the ocean gets cleaned up? Like, when it's clear of plastic, would that company go under? Or would they incentivize pollution so they stay in business? And cause more dumping so they can get more business? Like, I doubt it. But if the company is bought up by private equity, then there's no limitation to their greed and what they'll do to get more money.
At Rosbifk wrote,
That U.S. medical debt thing really surprised me. It's clear by now that the only thing the orange toddler cares about is himself and his friends' wallets, while he couldn't care less about the needs of his subjects. So, why did this happen? What benefit does this give him? Don't get me wrong, this is really good news. I'm just really curious how this is possible with the orange toddler administration.
Estone_624 wrote,
Less infrastructure to connect to multiple different electric systems in multiple different countries than one system in one country. I'm gonna need an explanation for that one, Chief.
Jijibes wrote,
Videos like this about other countries making positive change for the environment really keep me going and give me hope, considering the situation in the US right now.
At Milliethaplump 1544 wrote,
A major benefit of sodium batteries for their lack of capacity is their ability to charge even faster than lithium-ion. So think less, 8 hours per half battery charge and more.
1 hour for around the same charge level.
At nice_CNB bro wrote.
So little good news for a whole month, to be honest, but it's better than nothing, because there are barely any news stations who still cover good news. My favorite is End of Guinea one.
At PratiqueTale6895 wrote.
If the entire world adopted these techniques as fast as they made the changes during COVID, we would be done with the climate change issue in no time.
At Gabavarga7941 wrote.
A thing I noticed when people talk about the trash island and wind turbines. They're both heavy weights on a natural current. The island is a weight on natural water currents, possibly slowing them down a lot, and the turbines turn by breaking the wind current, slowing down cloud movements, etc. And they're not even that green as they look like. THX to the amount of stuff required to make them and upkeep them. I would like to hear other people's POV on these. Thank you.
At not_expert wrote.
Lead poisoning level finally dropping in the USA is very good news for the world, not just the US. New generations of Americans have a chance of being less stupid than their parents. At certain concentrations, lead disrupts brain functions.
At the lonely artist wrote.
Now this is a great way to use AI. 3, helping the planet. Instead of making it more untrustworthy, it really does make me happy to see people working toward a healthier planet. And people 3.
At Ganitor1853 wrote.
I really teared up when I heard that the medical debt has been cleared for so many people and that the system has been updated. Being from Germany, every time I see a video of a person in America in dire pain, refusing an ambulance because they can't pay it, it breaks my heart. There are people with cancer who just can't afford the treatment. I, from the bottom of my heart, hope that this will have nationwide effects and that other parts of the U.S. will see that economy can thrive through a healthier, more citizen-oriented environment. Thank you for this wonderful video. It's been a hard week. News like these help me get through. Thank you.
At Alessandro Castillo 2462 wrote.
The one that I like the most is about bricks for birds and the one about the ocean. As always, thank you for your content. I'm trying to only watch your channel. You know, in my spare time, I want to see good things.
At Borble09 wrote.
Just discovered this channel TYSM. Everyday news is so depressing and hearing good news nowadays is rare. So having this channel where I can see tons of good news is so uplifting and actually gives me hope for the future. Thank you.
At good_news wrote.
Get 20% off Delete Me by going to joindeletmd.com and use code GOODNEWS to protect your privacy. Sponsored, which story was your favorite this time? I was honestly shocked to learn that earlier generations were exposed to over 100 times more lead. And I am very happy to hear that the polar bears are doing better.